He fights it blindly, his breath running out, drowning in the very element that gave him his cursed powers. He trusted his instincts. He gave blood, and the spirit attacked. The crown prince is dead, drowned in the dark, freezing waters of the East Palace. His mother wails in agony, begging his lifeless body to wake up. But no amount of tears can bring him back. A sinister entity is hunting the royal bloodline, picking off the king's sons one by one. Who is slaughtering the heirs? The king sits on his throne, his face an emotionless mask of authority. While the royal court panics over a cursed spirit, he demands absolute silence. He publicly declares that ghosts are nothing but petty myths and threatens to execute anyone who dares to speak of them. But fear is a difficult thing to hide. In the shadows, the king knows the horrifying truth. History is repeating itself. 30 years ago, the royal heirs were wiped out in exactly the same brutal fashion. And the entity has already claimed its next victim. Prince Yangon suddenly collapses, his body violently contorting as a distorted, demonic voice erupts from his throat. The spirit possesses the young boy, screaming a promise to completely dry out the seed of the royal family. The king is desperate. He summons a man named Gu-Cheon, a filthy, low-born outcast with a terrifying gift. Gu-Cheon can see the dead. Decades ago, his mother, a cursed shaman, threw herself into a freezing river. She died. Gu-Cheon miraculously survived underwater for 15 minutes. The water gave him life, but it also forced his eyes open to the horrifying world of spirits. Now, Gu-Cheon is dragged into the palace against his will. The king gives him a chilling ultimatum: destroy the spirit, or personally lose his head. Gu-Cheon is kidnapped and locked inside a cursed abandoned residence within the East Palace, where people mysteriously die in the night. The air is thick with dark, sinister energy. He explains to his assigned assistant, Court Lady Sang-gang, that this isn't just a simple haunting. There are entities known as Wan-Gui, souls born of pure resentment, bound to the earth by their agonizing hatred. She had no idea that she was locked in a room with something far worse than a ghost. Meanwhile, the royal court tries to fight the curse using a renowned shaman. It is a spectacular, frenetic display of chanting, bells, and desperate prayers. But what he didn't know yet was that human magic means nothing to true rage. The shaman's rituals fail completely. The spirit strikes Prince Yongun again, violently choking the life out of him, while the holy man cowers in fear. The entire palace watches in absolute horror. Gu-Cheon realizes he cannot banish the spirit from the realm of the living. To fight it, he has to cross over to where it dwells. He demands a peach tree branch that points to the east. Gu-Cheon slashes his own hand, smearing his warm blood across the jagged wood. He tells the terrified court lady not to save him, no matter what happens, because he is crossing over into the world of Gui, the realm of the dead. The physical world instantly vanishes. He is completely submerged in a pitch-black, suffocating void. The water violently burbles and shifts around him. A monstrous, spectral shriek echoes through the suffocating darkness. The spirit lunges. He fights it blindly, his breath running out, drowning in the very element that gave him his cursed powers. He trusted his instincts. He gave blood, and the spirit attacked. The spirit's terrifying screams shatter the silence of the void. Gu-Cheon thrusts the blood-soaked peach branch forward, demanding to know the creature's grudge. The monster finally strikes. Gu-Cheon stares into the terrifying face of the entity, murdering the king's sons. He realizes this is no random act of violence. This spirit carries a deep, agonizing grudge that is directly tied to the royal bloodline. But the worst part wasn't what happened. It was what came next. We always assume that ghosts are the villains. We assume that the living are the innocent victims who need to be saved. But what if the king isn't the victim at all? What if the real monster is the one currently sitting on the throne? When the bloody sins of the father finally come back to butcher the sons, whose side will you be on? You absolutely have to see what the spirit reveals next. He isn't fighting a normal ghost. He is fighting a Wan-Gui, a spirit born of pure resentment and bound to the palace by an agonizing curse. The entity attacks, its spectral shrieks echoing through the darkness. Gu-Cheon violently slashes back with a blood-soaked peach branch, but the spirit is too powerful. It wraps around him, dragging him deeper into the void, choking the life out of him. He realizes that if he doesn't make a sacrifice, he will drown in this realm of the dead. "Let us make a deal," he gasps out to the darkness. "I will give you half of my yang energy, and in return, your help is all I require." He offers half of his own life force. While Gu-Cheon fights in the spirit realm, the physical world is collapsing into chaos. Prince Yengun is violently possessed, his body thrashing as the spirit attempts to finish the bloodline once and for all. The royal shamans are completely useless, their frantic chanting doing absolutely nothing to stop the entity from crushing the young boy's throat. The king's line is moments from total extinction. Gu-Cheon wakes up, gasping for air on the floor of the palace. He didn't banish the spirit, but he weakened it, buying the prince a temporary reprieve. But Gu-Cheon's failure reveals a terrifying truth. He can't destroy the spirit because he doesn't know its true identity or the source of its grudge. He had no idea that the answer was hiding right next to him. Gu-Cheon confronts Court Lady Sengang, his assigned assistant, and demands to know her true identity. He realizes she isn't just a court lady. She has the delicate hands of royalty and possesses spiritual abilities that mirror his own. She is the king's hidden daughter. The king summoned his secret, estranged daughter back to the palace to spy on Gu-Cheon, treating her as a disposable pawn in his war against the ghosts. Gu-Cheon doesn't expose her. He proposes an alliance. Together, they begin investigating the dark, hidden history of the palace to uncover the origin of the pond spirit. Sengang reveals a chilling memory from her childhood. She heard a spirit whisper a riddle. The serpent's shed skin killed the dragon's child. They decipher the code. The dragon's child refers to the late crown prince, and the serpent refers to the queen dowager, who was born in the year of the snake. The spirit was accusing the queen dowager of murder, but the worst part wasn't what happened. It was what came next. They discover that the queen dowager silenced the accusation in blood. 30 years ago, she locked the court ladies who heard the rumor inside the salt storehouse and burned them all alive, sealing their bones in jars to prevent them from seeking revenge. The pond spirit wasn't a random monster. It was a curse. The true pond spirit is the ghost of the most favored lady of the court, a concubine who was brutally executed 30 years ago. Before she died, she screamed a curse that would haunt the palace forever. "From this day on, no royal blood shall flow within these walls. I will wipe out the royal bloodline and dry out the seed of the East Palace." The king's brothers didn't die of a mysterious illness. They were slaughtered by a curse born from the queen dowager's cruelty. And if you think that was bad, wait until you hear what she does next. The queen dowager knows her dark secrets are being unearthed. She realizes the king is using Gu-Cheon to expose her crimes and strip her of power. She meets with Prince Ixang, a scheming collateral member of the royal family, and plots to usurp the throne. She wants the king's last son to die, so she can place her own puppet on the throne, severing the cursed bloodline and starting anew. The queen dowager thinks she has outsmarted the king. She surrounds herself with guards, believing she can survive the night and claim absolute power in the morning. Gu-Cheon doesn't fight the queen dowager with weapons. He fights her with the truth. He takes the crushed bone powder of the murdered court ladies and performs a ritual, releasing their trapped, burning souls from their jars. He doesn't destroy them. He guides them straight to the queen dowager's chamber. The murdered women manifest inside her room, their spectral screams echoing off the walls. They confront the queen dowager, demanding to know why they were burned alive for a crime they didn't commit. "Those who commit sins are bound to be punished eventually," Gu-Cheon's voice echoes. "You do not need to take a life with your own hands." The queen dowager is finally trapped, surrounded by the horrifying ghosts of her own making, realizing that her ruthless pursuit of power has finally summoned her own executioners. If the spirits of the past can never truly be buried, will the king's bloodline survive the night, or will the East Palace drown in the sins of its rulers? The freezing water violently bubbles as the court lady plunges her hands in, screaming for the shaman to wake up. His body thrashes, his eyes roll back, and his hands wrap around her throat, squeezing the life out of her. He was supposed to be saving the palace, so why is he trying to kill the only person protecting him? Gu-Cheon isn't a hero. He is a terrified, exhausted psychic, trapped inside a cursed royal palace, losing his mind every time he crosses into the world of the dead. His soul is slowly being ripped apart by the dark, suffocating yin energy of the East Palace, leaving him in a trance where he cannot tell friend from foe. The king has given him a merciless ultimatum. If the dying Prince Yongan cannot walk into the Queen Dowager's birthday banquet by noon tomorrow, the king will execute Gu-Cheon and bind his soul to the palace forever. Gu-Cheon is running out of time. But to kill a ghost, you have to know exactly who it is. And the only person holding that secret is Court Lady Jiang, a woman who would rather die than betray the Queen Dowager's dark history. Gu-Cheon doesn't ask politely. He locks Lady Jiang in her quarters and uses his abilities to summon the terrifying presence of the pond spirit directly to her door. As the demonic entity scratches at the walls and a spectral baby cries in the dark, the terrified woman finally breaks. She spills a horrifying secret that the royal family has kept buried for decades. The pond spirit is the ghost of the late king's most favored concubine. 30 years ago, she was accused of carrying a guard's child instead of the king's. She was brutally tortured until she miscarried, dying with a burning resentment for the royal family. But ghosts only ever tell half the story. If the concubine was innocent, who planted the false evidence that got her and her unborn baby slaughtered? He needs to find the true identity of the vengeful pond spirit slaughtering the royal bloodline, but the only clue lies in the abandoned, haunted house of a dead royal guard. Court Lady Seng-gang holds a dark secret of her own. 10 years ago, the cruel Queen Dowager framed her innocent mother, resulting in her mother being poisoned and Seng-gang being exiled. She didn't return to the palace to serve, she returned to kill the Queen Dowager. But to get her revenge, she needs Gu-Cheon alive, and Gu-Cheon is about to do something incredibly stupid. He realizes the only way to find the pond spirit's weakness is to project his soul out of his body and directly into the dead guard's haunted estate. He brings a lightning-struck jujube branch, a weapon that can strike down spirits without rotting, and leaves his physical body behind. She had no idea that she was supposed to be guarding his tether, but what happened in that courtyard changes everything about this cursed story. Gu-Cheon's soul enters the spirit realm and is immediately attacked by the monstrous ghost of the royal guard. They clash in a brutal, bloody fight. Gu-Cheon batters the spirit, demanding to know why the guard is protecting a cursed house even in death. The guard breaks down. He confesses that he betrayed the most favored lady, the woman who became the pond spirit, by making a false confession to save his own family. He buried the tiny baby shirt he made for their unborn child under a tree in the yard. He isn't haunting the house out of rage, he is waiting there to beg for her forgiveness. Gu-Cheon finally has the emotional weapon he needs to stop the pond spirit's rampage. But in the physical world, Seng-gang finds Gu-Cheon's body completely unresponsive. He is trapped in the void, unable to return, his soul slowly drifting away to become an Akwi, a ruthless, intensely evil spirit, born of massive karma. Gu-Cheon had warned her that if he died here, he would return as a monster and slaughter the king himself. She refuses to let him die alone. Seng-gang plunges into the water, projecting her own soul into the terrifying darkness of the spirit realm to pull him back. Seng-gang wanders the horrific, shadowy landscape, desperately screaming his name. She finds Gu-Cheon, but he isn't alone. A Guime, a sinister entity that lures humans to their death, has taken the shape of Gu-Cheon's dead mother. The creature is whispering to him, promising him peace, wrapping its cold, spectral hands around him to drag him down. Seng-gang charges forward, desperate to break the horrifying illusion. But a massive, terrifying monster, known as a Gyeomyeoksali, erupts from the shadows, latching onto her and draining her life force. If a lowborn psychic and a hidden princess can forge an alliance in the deepest pits of hell, what kind of devastation will they unleash on the Queen Dowager when they finally wake up? The royal family thought they could control the dead. They are about to find out that the dead have a memory, and they are coming to collect. He is drowning in the pitch-black void of the spirit realm, his soul slowly tearing apart as the entity drains his life force. Just as the freezing darkness threatens to swallow him whole, a pair of hands violently yanks his body back to the world of the living. Gu-Cheon gasps for air on the palace floor, saved by the very princess he was hired to protect. But his nightmare is only just beginning. While Gu-Cheon prepares to fight the spirit, Seng-gang walks directly into the lion's den. She confronts the ruthless Queen Dowager in her private chambers, carrying a plate of perfectly recreated poisoned snacks, the exact same kind used to kill Seng-gang's own mother 10 years ago. The psychological trap works flawlessly. Pushed to the absolute brink, the Queen Dowager snaps, screaming her horrific confession. She wasn't just protecting the purity of the bloodline. She was insanely jealous of a low-born maid receiving the king's love. She personally ordered the torture and murdered the unborn child just to protect her own noble pride. And now, Seng-gang has the exact confession she needs to destroy her. You absolutely need to hear how the shaman uses this to his advantage. The physical war is still raging. Gu-Cheon plunges back into the freezing water, armed with a lightning-struck jujube branch, the only weapon capable of striking a spirit without rotting. He tracks the agonizing cries of a ghost baby through the terrifying darkness. With a single, blood-soaked thread tied to an arrow, he strikes the spirit, breaking the chains of its 30-year resentment. The cries finally stop. Prince Yongan wakes up in his bed, completely cured. The king is thrilled. The curse is broken. He rewards Gu-Cheon with a heavy bag of silver and a pass to leave the palace forever. Gu-Cheon stands at the palace gates, the king's heavy bag of silver resting in his hands. His debt is paid. He has his official pass. He could walk away right now, leave the suffocating darkness of the East Palace behind, and never look back. But a sickening realization suddenly paralyzes him. Something is deeply, horribly wrong. The pond spirit he just defeated was entirely too weak. It was nothing more than a grieving, broken mother. There is absolutely no way a spirit that frail managed to brutally slaughter 7 royal princes over the course of 3 bloody decades. If the pond ghost didn't kill the king's brothers, who did? Someone used the ghost of the concubine as a convenient, invisible scapegoat to hide a string of calculated, cold-blooded political assassinations. The real killer isn't a ghost, it is a man, someone walking the halls of the East Palace, carrying royal blood. And he isn't finished yet. While the king was on a hunting trip, the shadow strikes again. The supposedly cured Prince Yongan collapses. Panic erupts as the royal guards frantically scramble to protect the king, completely unaware that the true threat is already inside the walls. In the terrifying darkness of the palace, a man's voice echoes with absolute malice. "I will have my revenge. The king must pay for the sins that he has committed. I will become the real one." The true monster has finally stepped into the light, unleashing a devastating dark energy that rips through the courtyard to finish the royal bloodline once and for all. Seng-gang is caught directly in the crossfire. The entity hunts her down, violently slamming her to the ground. She is helpless, suffocating under the crushing weight of a curse far older and far deadlier than anything they have faced. The ghosts they fought before were just a distraction. This is a massacre. "You should leave," she gasps, staring up at Gu-Cheon, who has suddenly appeared through the chaos to shield her. "If I leave you behind, you will die the same as Prince Yongan." He looks down at her. He has his pass. He knows that staying in this palace means risking his soul, risking becoming the very monster he fears most. "You saved my life," Gu-Cheon whispers, dropping his one chance at freedom and drawing his weapon. "This time, I'll be the one who is going to save you." If the true villain isn't a spirit, but a royal heir willing to burn his own family to the ground, how much of his own humanity will Gu-Cheon have to destroy to stop him? And that is where the first part of this story ends. If this series moved you, if you stayed through every episode, every betrayal, every sacrifice, every impossible choice, then you already know what this channel is about. We don't just recap dramas, we tell the stories inside the story. The ones that stay with you long after the credits roll. If that's what you came for, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you never miss a drop. And share this series with someone who deserves a great story. Thank you for watching every episode. Thank you for staying until the end. Same fate. Different story. See you in part 2. Bye guys.